There are moments that don't need words. They don't need explanations. They don't even need the spotlight. Sometimes, all it takes is a single look. And suddenly, many ARMY feel their hearts grow warm and tight at the same time. Not because of drama, but because of honesty. Today, this is not about rumors. It's about one small moment. Something we may have seen before, but perhaps never truly felt. This moment didn't happen on a grand stage, or in the middle of deafening cheers. There was no slow-motion edit. No dramatic music playing in the background. In fact, it was the opposite. It happened in between. Between movements that looked ordinary. Between seconds we usually miss. Because we're waiting for the next big highlight. Jimin wasn't standing too close. Jungkook wasn't searching for the camera. They both looked relaxed. And then, for just 1 second, their eyes met. Not a long stare. Not a look meant to be noticed. Just long enough to be seen. And sincere enough to be felt. What makes this moment special isn't just the look itself, but how their bodies reacted afterward. Jimin didn't break into a wide smile. Instead, he slightly lowered his gaze, as if holding something back. An emotion, a thought, or perhaps a familiar feeling that only appears when he feels safe. Jungkook, on the other hand, didn't immediately look away. There was a brief pause, a fraction of a second that felt intentional, as if he was quietly saying, "I see you." Body language like this can't be trained in seconds. It comes from comfort, from closeness built over time. Not the kind of closeness that seeks attention, but the kind that doesn't mind being seen. After that look, nothing dramatic happened. And somehow, that's exactly the point. No loud laughter. No exaggerated gestures. Just small movements. Jungkook slowing his steps slightly to stay aligned. And Jimin's shoulders subtly turning toward him. These are the moments we often overlook. Because they're too simple. But to those who notice, they speak the clearest language of comfort. ARMY didn't react with immediate screams. There were no wild theories declared as truth. Instead, the comments were soft and honest. "Why does this feel so warm? I don't know why, but my chest feels tight." It was such a small moment, but it felt long. Many ARMY said the same thing. Not about what they saw, but about what they felt. And feelings like that rarely come from something forced. Of course, not everyone saw it the same way. Some said, it was just a coincidence. And that's okay, because there are no claims being made here. Yet what's interesting is this. Even those who called it coincidence still admitted one thing. It felt different. And that sense of difference is what keeps this moment alive. Not because of sensation, but because of resonance. Maybe it's not because they're seen together more often. Maybe it's not about big interactions. It's these small moments. The ones that don't try to explain anything. A look that doesn't need to last. A movement that doesn't ask to be noticed. Everything feels natural. And natural closeness is always stronger than something forced. What makes moments like this linger isn't their visibility, but their aftertaste. Long after the clip ends, long after the stage lights dim, there's still something left behind. A feeling that quietly follows you. Not demanding attention. Not asking to be explained. Just present. And perhaps that's why so many people return to these seconds again and again. Not to prove anything, but to revisit a feeling that felt unexpectedly real. There's a particular kind of closeness that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush forward. It doesn't try to take center stage. Instead, it waits. It appears in posture, in distance or the lack of it, in how someone instinctively adjusts their position without thinking. In this moment, Jimin doesn't lean away. He doesn't stiffen. His shoulders remain relaxed, open. Jungkook mirrors that energy without trying to match it. Not copying, but aligning. It's subtle, almost unnoticeable. But alignment like this often comes from long familiarity, from knowing how someone occupies space, and choosing, consciously or not, to meet them there. One thing many viewers quietly noted was what didn't happen. No exaggerated reaction. No sudden laughter to lighten the mood. No visible awareness of being watched. And in today's hyper-aware environment, that absence feels significant. Because when people perform, there is usually a shift. A quick glance at the camera. A correction in posture. A smile that arrives just a bit too fast. But here, everything flows. As if the moment exists, whether we see it or not. ARMY has watched Jimin and Jungkook grow for years. Not just as artists, but as people learning how to exist under constant observation. That's why small changes stand out. Not because fans are searching for meaning, but because they recognize patterns. They notice when energy feels settled, when movements feel unguarded, when reactions feel less filtered. And when that happens, it naturally invites quiet attention. Familiarity is often misunderstood. People think it's loud, that it announces itself through constant interaction. But real familiarity often looks calm. It looks like knowing when not to speak, like understanding when to stay still. In this moment, there is no rush to fill silence, no urgency to react, just presence. And presence, when shared, carries weight. If you slow the moment down, not to analyze it obsessively, but simply to observe, you'll notice something interesting. Jimin's expression softens before the eye contact ends. Not after. Not in response. As if the recognition itself is enough. Jungkook's expression remains steady, grounded. Not surprised. Not playful. Just sure. Micro-expressions like these often appear before thought catches up. They're instinctive, unedited, and that's why they feel honest. The word fanservice is often used loosely, sometimes unfairly. But there's a difference between interaction and intention. Fanservice seeks reaction. It anticipates applause. It waits for recognition. This moment does none of that. It doesn't linger long enough to invite cheers. It doesn't pause for validation. It simply happens and moves on. That's why many viewers didn't react immediately, but felt it later. Sometimes the deepest connections aren't marked by sweet words. They're marked by comfortable silence, by a brief look. That doesn't make us ask, what's going on? But instead makes us feel they're okay. And maybe that's why a single look is already enough for many ARMY to believe that the Jikook bond doesn't need to be proven because it can be felt. Now I want to hear from you. Did you feel it too when you saw this moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Not to argue, but to share a feeling. Don't forget to like if this video made you pause for a moment, and share it with other ARMY who may have felt the same thing, even if they can't quite explain it. Because sometimes, the most honest feelings don't need words at all.